Hi and welcome. Lisa here for Trinity Stamps. Thanks for joining me for another card video. Today I'm sharing the new Dust Bunny stamps and dies from the 2020 spring release with you, along with a few other products that are new to Trinity and a couple of oldies but goodies. For the blog hop release, I created a scene to put these cuties in, and I thought today I would share with you just how easy it is to do this scene. So I'm going to jump in with a 4¼ by 5½ inch piece of 80-pound white cardstock. I'm using the largest rectangle stencil from the layering rectangle set, and I'm leaving about 1 1/8 of an inch space to create the floor. I'm just going to make sure that my stencil is nice and straight by measuring each end, and as long as both ends measure 1 1/8, then I'm good to go. Now I'm using Memento dye inks along with a few blender buddies to create this scene. No markers necessary, but by using the Memento inks, if I want to come in and add small details, I can do that with alcohol markers afterwards. So I'm going to lay down desert sand ink, starting with a heavy pressure and lightening that pressure as I move away from the stencil. Now you want to create a crisp line right off the edge of that stencil, and here you can see how crisp that line is. Now I want to cover everything above that floor line with a piece of scrap paper so I can start creating the individual boards in the flooring. I'm going to turn that same stencil on an angle and add Memento Rich Cocoa ink to the tip of this blender brush and just work it right off the edge of the stencil, creating a sharp line. Now I'm going to continue creating the boards across the floor. And don't worry if your spacing or angles are not perfect. Remember, the bed's going here, the bunnies are going to go across the floor. So honestly, you could skip this part if you wanted to. I just like to be able to see the boards through the little pieces of boards here and there. I like the look that it gives. So let's move on to the walls now that our floor is done. It's pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and center the smallest rectangle from the layering rectangle set to protect my window area, and I'm using that same piece of scrap paper to cover the floor area. I'm using stencils from two new sets that were just released, the Slimline Lots of Dots set and the Slimline Stripes stencil set. Now with the Stripes stencil set, you're going to get 2 stencils, and with the Lots of Dots, you're going to get 4 stencils. So I'm just going to line this stencil up. I'm going to create striped wallpaper on the walls. I'm going to tack it in place with a little bit of purple tape. Then I'm going to come in with the Memento Rosebud ink, and I'm pushing the brush instead of using a circular motion. If I had sprayed this with pixie spray, I would be able to use the circular motion, but I didn't, and that's okay. It gives me a chance to show you how I go at it without the spray. Next, I'm going to add some polka dots to this wall with Memento Tangelo ink. Now that I have the walls finished, here you can see what it's going to look like. And we're going to come in and add some trees in our window. So I'm going to go ahead and cover up this whole area to protect everything. And then I'm going to be using the layered pine stencils along with a few Memento inks in the colors Pistachio, Pear, Tart, and Olive Grove. I'm going to start with the Pistachio as the lightest color, and then I'm going to use the Pear Tart as my medium shade, and then the Olive Grove as the darkest. So there's our trees done in our window. So you can use a scrap piece of paper or a stencil for this next step, but I'm going to come in and create a few sunshine rays through the window, and I'm just using the edge of this scrap piece of paper to create these sharp edges to create those rays of sun. I used Memento ink in the color Dandelion. So now we are almost done with our scene. I'm going to come in with a stencil to cover up most of the wall area. And of course, I need to cover up that window again because I decided I was going to go ahead and put a frame around the window. Now I'm just using black 100 Copic to fill in between the two stencils. I want to mention, if you want to do a wood grain frame, you need to do that before you add details to the walls, because the browns of the wood grain won't be dark enough to completely cover those details up. So I'm going to use this stencil to create a rail across this window. Now, if you want to come in and add sash bars above and below this rail, you can. Easily done by using this same method. Just use the edge of your stencil to create straight lines to create your little sash bars. So now that we have all of our scene completed, I'm going to go ahead and stamp these images using Memento Tuxedo Black ink. We're going to do some very simple coloring. I'm going to color the bedpost with N9, N6, and N4. And then I'm going to add pink stripes and orange polka dots to the bed covering. Add a few gray lines to that throw blanket. And the pillow I color with N9 and N6. Pretty simple. Now for the bunnies, I'm using N6, N4, N2, and N0, and I'm working dark to light, and I'm just making little circular motions very lightly with the tip of the nib. Think of doodling squiggly lines like you saw there on the screen. I'm going to come in with R01 to the nose, cheeks, and ears of each of the bunnies. And for the little feather duster, I used RV66 and VO5. And then N6, N4, and N2 on the handle. Now I'm going to go ahead and run these through the die cutting machine. While I'm over there die cutting, I'm going to go ahead and die cut our scene panel. And I'm using a rectangle die that measures 4 inches by 5¼ inches. So I'm going to go ahead now and use my tape gun to add adhesive to the back of this scene panel and center that on a 4¼ by 5½ inch card base. I'm adding mounting foam to the back of the die cut pieces and arranging them on the card. I'm adding a few iridescent gems here. I stamped the sentiment from the Springtime Sentiment set onto white cardstock using VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I trimmed it with my paper trimmer. I added foam adhesive strips and added it to the card. So I do believe that's going to bring us to the end of this video. Let me know what you think about creating scenes with stencils, if it's something you might try. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you'll click the subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of new content to this channel. For more information about the products I used, head over to Trinity Stamps website. As always, know how much I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I hope you have an amazing day.